Plagiarism charges downed Harvard's president. A conservative attack helped to fan the outrage. Harvard President Claudine Gay resigns amid plagiarism claims. Backlash from antisemitism testimony. Dozens of previously sealed court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein have been made public in connection to a years-old lawsuit involving the late financier. Today is Thursday, January 4th, 2024, and this is the Dunkley Report. Accusations of plagiarism have ruined the careers of academics and undergraduates alike. The latest target is Harvard President Claudine Gay, who resigned Tuesday. Reviews by Harvard found multiple shortcomings in Gay's academic citations, including several instances of duplicative language. While the university concluded the errors were not considered intentional or reckless and didn't rise to misconduct, the allegations continued, with new ones, as recently as Monday. Many came not from her academic peers, but her political foes, led by conservatives who sought to oust Gay and put her career under intense scrutiny in hopes of finding a fatal flaw. The focus on Gay came amid backlash over her congressional testimony about antisemitism on campus. Harvard University President Claudine Gay has resigned amid plagiarism accusations and criticism over testimony at a congressional hearing where she was unable to say unequivocally that calls on campus for the genocide of Jews would violate the school's conduct policy. Gay announced her departure, which came just months into her tenure, in a letter to the Harvard community on Tuesday. She and the presidents of MIT and the University of Pennsylvania came under fire last month for their lawyerly answers to a line of questioning from New York reporters, Elise Stefanik, who asked whether calling for the genocide of Jews would violate the college's codes of conduct. Dozens of previously sealed court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein have been made public in connection to a years-old lawsuit involving the late financier. The documents released late Wednesday are likely to disappoint sleuths online, where the plan to release documents prompted rumors of a list of clients or co-conspirators. In fact, the judge who made the call wrote in December that she was ordering the records released because much of the information within them is already public. The first 40 documents of an expected 250 ordered unsealed largely mention figures whose names were already known, including high-profile friends of Epstein's and victims who have spoken publicly. A bomb threat emailed to officials in several states has briefly disrupted government affairs and prompted some state capital evacuations, but no explosives have been found, and federal officials quickly dismissed the threats as a hoax. Connecticut, Georgia, Hawaii, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, and Montana, and are among the states that evacuated State House offices or buildings on Wednesday morning. The FBI has said it is aware of numerous hoax bomb threats at state capitol buildings, but that it has no information to indicate a specific and credible threat. The threats follow a spate of false reports of shootings at the homes of public officials in recent days. U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has led about 60 fellow Republicans in Congress on a visit to the Mexican border, and Johnson is expressing serious doubts about whether he'd support a bipartisan compromise. He's also suggesting he could use a looming government funding deadline as further leverage. Their trip Wednesday to Eagle Pass, Texas, comes as they are demanding hardline immigration policies in exchange for backing President Joe Biden's emergency wartime funding request for Ukraine. Senate negotiators in Washington are plugging away in hopes of a bipartisan deal. Johnson says he's holding firmly to the policies of a bill passed by House Republicans in May without a single Democratic vote. Biden has threatened a veto. Some officials in suburbs and outlying cities near Chicago and New York are giving migrants arriving from the southern border a cold shoulder amid attempts to circumvent restrictions on dropping migrants in those two cities. The mayor of Edison, New Jersey, warned he would send people back to the border if they came to his city in buses. When a plane with 355 migrants arrived in Rockford, Illinois, from San Antonio early Sunday, officials said the migrants wouldn't be staying. Chicago and New York cracked down on buses in response to efforts led by Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott to pay for migrants to leave his state. A man has been found dead at Salt Lake City International Airport after police say he breached an emergency exit door and climbed inside a jet engine. Officers found 30-year-old Kyler Effinger unconscious inside an engine mounted to the wing of a commercial aircraft loaded with passengers on Monday night. The plane's engines were rotating. First responders pulled him out of the engine and attempted life-saving measures. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Effinger lived in Park City, Utah, and was a ticketed passenger. Passengers were removed from the plane where he was found. Airport operations were not interrupted. For the first time in the United States, turbines are sending electricity to the grid from the sites of two large offshore wind farms. The joint owners of the Vineyard Wind Project, Avangrid and Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, announced Wednesday the first electricity from one turbine at what will be a 62-turbine wind farm, 15 miles 24 kilometers, off the coast of Massachusetts. 5 turbines are installed there. One turbine delivered about 5 megawatts of power to the Massachusetts grid just before midnight Wednesday. Danish wind energy developer Ørsted and the utility Eversource announced last month that their first turbine was sending electricity from what will be a 12-turbine wind farm, South Fork Wind. 35 miles, 56 kilometers, east of Montauk Point, New York. The body of a woman who went missing 12 years ago appears to have been found last week in a minivan submerged in a Central Florida retention pond near Walt Disney World. The family of Sandra Lemire told local media that they believe that the remains found in the vehicle are the Central Florida woman who vanished along with her car in 2012. Divers with Sunshine State sonar found the vehicle last Saturday while searching in a small retention pond at the Disney World exit on Interstate 4 in Kissimmee, Florida. The group of volunteer divers assists law enforcement in finding missing persons believed to be in waterways. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the international news for Thursday, January 4th, 2024. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.